Good afternoon. My name is Marvis Brown, and I'm going to talk about STEM, diversity in STEM education for minorities. And the reason why I chose this topic is because my background is in STEM. My undergrad degree is actually pre-med, but is a minor in chemistry. My master is in biology. So that's my other side of me besides the educational piece. So I have a passion for the STEM. So when we talk about diversity, my definition for diversity is the representation of all our varied identities and differences. And this includes race, gender, disability, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status. All this is collectively as an individual. So when we look at STEM, we're looking at science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So as I said before, mentioned earlier, a focus on diversity of minorities and students in STEM field in higher education. So I'm looking at the STEM field in higher education. So when I look at some of the research, the literature, it says according to the U.S. Department of Education, less than 25% of college students, pursuing bachelor degree will be specializing in STEM fields. Students of color are enrolling in STEM degree programs, but are much less likely to graduate with STEM degrees as compared to white students. African American students at historically black colleges and universities are more likely to major in biological or physical sciences than those at a majority institution. So when I talk about majority institution, I'm talking about our PWIs. And HBCUs and minority serving institutions also continue to produce the largest number of underrepresented minorities, students with STEM degrees, including those advanced education degrees as well. So, the research says you got your HBCUs that have a high number of underrepresented students completing their STEM degree or biological degrees, biological, physical sciences degree, chemistry, engineering, where you find more graduating with those type of degrees from an HBCU than a PWI. And probably is more of the sense of belonging. You see people that look like you, and that's really a big demand, or that's a really big initiative, or I don't want to say initiative, but a sense of belonging, if you would say. It's more of a sense of belonging. And you see someone who looks like you. Also, so I'm talking about the STEM and underrepresented population, which includes everyone. But also, if we highlight and separate the women, it says women are significantly underrepresented in the STEM fields in the U.S., making up less than a quarter of those who are working in the STEM. So they're saying representation of women of color is even lower, with Hispanic, Asian, and African American women each receiving less than 5% of STEM bachelor degrees in the U.S. So that's kind of low. 5% is really low. So now we're trying to understand, we're trying to figure out the why. And some says sometimes it takes place prior, like in high school, prior to the transition to college. So sometimes the childhood or social cultural development, the STEM, some students get the STEM experience through their parents, through their relatives. They have great exposure. There's some students who are not getting that. Also, mentorship can help expose, give more knowledge about the STEM career pathway. High school, some students who aspire to go into the career field of STEM, but haven't taken the proper high school courses, the APA courses, the higher math, the higher science and chemistry and physics. So being exposed, and again, knowledge of knowing what it needs to take to be this engineer. Again, being exposed is the common denominator, being exposed to the STEM career pathway. In one research, it pointed out the issues of the achievement gap with STEM higher education was between white and other minority or racial ethnic groups, between men and women. As I said, there's only 5% of women, unrepresentative women, women of color, minority women that represents in the STEM occupation. Among socioeconomic classes, socioeconomic classes, those of a lower class might not have the experience, might not have been exposed to what it is to have a career in science, the STEM. And first generation college students are usually the first ones to go to college, and they have their own barriers there. But being exposed, having the knowledge, having the mentorship, having a program that talks about science is a plus and a motivation to a career in the science pathway. So there's national efforts to try to help or recruit more students or underrepresented students to be part of this STEM career pathway. So we have the federal, they have developed programs called the Historical Black College and University Undergraduate Program, and also a program called Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation. And this is to target underrepresented minorities for STEM career paths. Another program they have is the National Institute of Health and the National Science Foundation. Their goal is to achieve their goal is to fund certain programs to help achieve this goal of underrepresented minorities, to increase it in the STEM career paths. So they have programs called tribal college and university programs, advancement of women in academic, science, and engineering careers, Alliance for Broadening Participation in STEM, and research experience in undergraduates. Those are on a national level of programs they have resources for, and result in the increase in the number of underrepresented minority persistent in the STEM career path. So then there's some efforts, the institutional efforts for increasing recruitment retention programs. There are all kinds of programs out there all around the USA trying to increase recruitment, retention, and achievement for those underrepresented students who wants to participate in the career pathway of STEM. So there's some programs called Biology Undergrad Scholar Program. It's at the University of California. Biology Fellows Program at the University of Washington, Biology Scholars Program at the University of California. All these programs open to students of color that aim to promote the retention and success of these students. And in these programs, it include academic support, which is important, financial support, which really is important, mentoring, community building, and promote or require students to participate in research. That's the hands-on, and that really, I think, is a key to keeping these students who are interested in the STEM pathway. There's also a Maya Hoff Scholar Program at the University of Maryland. It's called Minority Arts and Science Program at the University of Colorado, and it targets high achieving African Americans or other students of color to increase the number of underrepresented students in science and engineering. So the key components, as one of the Earlier programs is for institution success is to keep recruit a large number because there's going to be some attrition, but encourage a sense of community, a sense of belonging, have some financial support, have a student orientation about it, have some active faculty to students that they may encourage, talk, mentor, and early engagement in research will be key factors to help keep these students retained and into the STEM career pathway. Some of the barriers, institutional barriers that impede the progression and success is historically been institution practice of inclusion or lack thereof, that some students don't feel that they are included, you know. So the university has to do more of an outreach effort to keep these students motivated and retained and wants to be on a campus, and they feel a sense of belonging. And the psychological climate, it just describes how individuals feel at the institution. So everybody has their own view, everyone has their own experience and interact with, you know, amongst the diverse groups. Everybody's view is different. Institutional cultures and climates, including diversity among faculty and members, present barriers to minority persisting in STEM disciplines and attaining a degree. So final thoughts are, in order to help promote or help inspire or motivate students of color to create a learning community with diverse members of the institution to address the academic and social integration of minority students, early engagement and empowerment from the faculty members, institutional participation, support, and proactive leaderships, studying climates to identify more institutional barriers, and also, which is very important, is faculty participation, especially when they're assessing to minority mentors, students of color who experience HBCU to a PWI, even when they transition, probably coming from an HBCU, coming to a PWI, they may need to increase the socialization of these students, the support, the sense of belongings, because there's a difference from an HBCU and a PWI with these students. And I will continue on the research to see how things are coming down the pipeline, but more programs can help, or continuing the programs helping promote students of color to the STEM pathway. Thank you.